This is not exactly the video that I was going to prepare this week. I'm been a little bit under the weather. It's not grayscale or anything, and don't worry, I've been taking the best milk of the poppy. I've got great septins, great maesters around me. Just one thing I do want to say is that nothing in the world, no matter how sick I feel right now, nothing in the world can make me feel as bad as I felt after watching season 8 of Game of Thrones. Welcome to the Black Dread. I am Billie Jean, the Black Dread, the last Targaryen. Yes, season 8, Game of Thrones. Here at the Black Dread, one thing I like to do is stay in universe. I don't really like to talk about the meta situations surrounding Game of Thrones, such as like, you know, I don't really care what Sophie Turner is doing or Miguel Sapochnik gave an interview. I'm not, I'll listen to it, but I don't really feel the need to report on it. I like to stay in universe. So when season 8 happened and everyone was asking me like, well, you like Game of Thrones, what do you feel about season 8? And then, I was just like, okay, try to bring it down to a simmer, because last year I was boiling, and that's probably why I haven't spoken about season 8, because it took me so long to get over that disappointment. And then this happened. Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, written by this person's name, who I will never ever say out loud. I feel like if I say his name out loud, I will release evil spirits into the world. So we will never ever say his name. But I was going to leave season 8 alone and the mess of season 5, 6, and 7 that preceded it. I was not going to mention any of that, because although Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, as hard as they tried, season 8 cannot kill A Song of Ice and Fire. So once I've, come to realize that the things that happen on the HBO program Game of Thrones are not exactly canon and we don't have to live with them forever, I was fine. It took me a few months of, I was very discombobulated after season 8. I was a little wobbly, but it took me a few months, and then I started to simmer down and realize that, okay, that was just an adaptation of the story. We don't have to live with that forever. But then this happened, and I bought this giant book, and I read it just because, I am the Black Dread. I'd like to keep abreast of the information and pass it on to you guys here, so you don't have to read this nonsense. But actually, I'm gonna put it down. I don't even want to see it anymore. So that book came out, and it was just really the final insult. It was like a kick in the face, a slap, to the people who already spent all this time, money, and energy and effort and money on A Song of Ice and Fire for Dan and Dave, or D&D, to do what they did for season 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not going to get into the whole thing of it, because like I said, I like to stay in universe, but this was just like the last straw. So you guys, and I'm not here to call Dan and Dave stupid. I'm not going to say that they're incompetent. I'm not going to say that Dan and Dave are lazy writers. And I'm not going to say that Dan and Dave should never have a job writing on the TV show ever again. Now, I could say that they are stupid and lazy and incompetent and should never have another TV show, but I'm not going to do that. What I prefer to do is just talk about why I would say those things. If I was going to say that they are stupid, incompetent, lazy writers and should never have another job writing another TV show. If I was going to say something like that, why would I do that? Along with this person who wrote this trash here. Okay, season 8 was bad, but if you have read A Song of Ice and Fire, you understand that around season 4 things started to go a little bit off the rails, and I was reading it and I'm watching along and I'm like, okay, something's going on here. But I feel like because this is such a well-rounded story, I'm like, okay, they have to have an idea of where, even though that's books 6 and 7 aren't written, they have to have some sort of blueprint, some sort of outline where they're going. They're not just going to give us this this cornucopia of storylines, which is exactly what they ended up doing anyway. Season 5 was bad. We got Dorne, we got you want the good girl, but you need the bad pussy. We got that, and I said, okay, I can suffer through that, because I have a feeling that it's going to get better. Then season 6, we had Arya in Bravos, and she got stabbed, and she fell into the shit-infested water and was fine a day later. Okay, I can forgive that. We can, there's still something good coming on here. And there was still some good stories mixed in there. season 7, hey Gendry, why don't you run from beyond the wall back to Dragonstone? And that kind of thing started happening. I was like, okay, y'all. And it's only 6 episodes, 7 episodes. I'm like, okay, what's really going to happen? And then when season 8 happened, I just completely mentally checked out. After episode 3, The Long Night, I was completely checked out. It took me about, like I said, a year to get over that disappointment. And I was finally starting to feel good. And then we have this book where apparently Dan and Dave has spent the last year reading our tweets and looking at our email posts and listening to our videos, and decided that they were going to have this person here concoct the book that what I really think this book should be called was What Had Happened Was, because this is just a big mansplain. This book is just splaining and lies, and it's disrespectful to anyone who cares anything even about Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire. I read this book with a grimace on my face the entire time. I was like this. The whole time I was reading, just like, what the fuck? So I'm just like, all right. I didn't want to talk about it, so I'm just going to talk about it very briefly. This is going to be a short video here. We're going to do very briefly here, and I'd like to stay in universe. So stepping outside of universe, they had the audacity, like certain things in this book. When you see episode 8.3, The Long Night, and you see how dark and garbled that screen was for the whole almost 2 hours of just crazy action going on, in the book, they actually say that millions and millions of people were watching it with their TVs improperly calibrated. Oh, so no one knows how to fix the color on their TV or smartphones or tablets that we were watching on, because this is not 1987. We don't have those TVs anymore with the color and the knob. So apparently it was all our faults that we couldn't see the Night King and anything that happened in that episode because we didn't have our TVs set properly. Oh, I didn't know we were that stupid. I'm so sorry. I've referenced this book a couple of times, like in my Lady Stoneheart video, because this book definitely backfired on them. It's like George R.R. Martin is in here saying things contrary to what they are saying. So I'm like, did you guys even read this book? Like George R.R. Martin is saying, they're saying in one hand, we had to cut Lady Stoneheart because, we didn't feel it was going to be that impactful to the story. And in the next freaking paragraph, you've got George R.R. Martin saying, oh yeah, no, it's going to be very impactful to the story. And that's why I put her in there. And I would have left her in. So it's like one hand, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. They're scrambling, trying to cover up for that horrible, abysmal ending to what could have been possibly the greatest season of television in history. And now they're scrambling and they're trying to save face, and it's disgusting. I had so many problems with things from season 5 on that if I tried to name them all, we would be here for hours and hours and hours, and I'm not going to do that. I like to focus on the in-universe things and the things I like more over than the things I just hate, And even the things I hate, I still love. Like I hate Joffrey, but I love him, because he's Joffrey. So what I've done, and I didn't even take the initiative to memorize these because I want to go ahead and say these things and then I want to forget them like it never happened before. I would say that this was some type of nightmare, but most of my nightmares I wake up from. I still have not awakened from Daenerys burning down King's Landing. So what we're going to do real quick here is I'm just going to run through a few of the things that I thought were the most disrespectful and egregious blunders of Dan and Dave. And to be fair, George R.R. Martin, you do have a little blame for yourself here because the show started 2011. That was the time book 5 came out. So you're telling me in the last, 9 years, you couldn't produce one more book? Because when you got to season 4 or 5, they started to say, hey guys, guess what? We're running out of material. Now, I know George expected D&D to take book 4 and make 2 seasons out of it. But that would have maybe given him more time to come up with the Winds of Winter, or for them to properly execute the Dawn storyline. That would give them a couple of seasons for that. But that was not the agreement. That said 7 seasons. They were always thinking maybe 7 seasons. George, you could have at least given them a little bit more information. You could have given us a book in the last 9 years. So you're not exactly blameless in this situation for why season 8 ended the way it did. Because if they would have had the books, I think they signed on to do the adaptation, not to actually start writing the story, which is what they had to do. And you can see where it starts falling off is when they actually started having to make up the plots and the storylines from there. And I'm like, if they would have had the Winds of Winter, maybe things would have gone smoother. But, that's neither here or there. So let's just run through a few of the things that I thought were the stupidest. And most of the things that in season 8 happened in season 8, episode 3, The Long Night, which was just completely a catastrophe. Like, for example, we have season 8, Cersei and Jaime were killed by bricks. Cersei Lannister and Jaime Lannister, two of the main characters of the show, were killed by falling bricks. I thought that was just like, I mean, at that point when that happened, the Iron Throne, the Bells episode, I had already mentally checked out. So I was expecting stupidity. But when that came in, it was just like, okay. So we're dying by bricks. This is what we're doing. Okay. We have Bran becoming the Night King, the king. And George R. R. Martin states that, Bran is going to become the king. I seriously doubt that. I'm like, you telling me you have 2 books to get Bran on the Iron Throne? It's not. I think that's a subversion because he doesn't want people to know where he's going for the last 2 books. And considering how they fucked up seasons 5, 6, 7, 8, he's like, okay, let's just try to get people to forget all about that, and I'll just lie and let them think this is where we're going, and then we'll just hit them with something good in book 6 and 7. Bran is not going to sit on the Iron Throne. If he is, George R. R. Martin and I will have a long talk. One of the most disrespectful things that happened in season 8 was Gendry Rivers. If you know anything about, okay, now even if we don't have books 6 and 7, there are so many parts of this story that are so fleshed out. There is no excuse for Gendry Rivers. And what do I mean by Gendry Rivers? Well, ask me, I'll discuss it in the comments, because if you know, you know. If you don't, Gendry Rivers, just look that up. That is probably one of the most disrespectful lines that they wrote and they said. It's like, so you're not even researching your own script anymore. You're just like, wrap this show up. We've got to go 6 episodes. Let's get it the fuck over it. Gendry Rivers is his name. Okay. We've got, the death of the Night King in 1 episode. And I don't care that it was Arya who killed the Night King. I don't care if it was the Hound. Even if it was Jon Snow like I wanted it to be, I still would have been upset because I'm like, okay, so from season 1, episode 1, scene 1, the first scene in the first book of this 10 fucking book series is about the White Walkers, and you're telling me that you killed them in 1 battle, in 1 episode, in 1 hour, boom, and that was it. I don't care if it was Arya and how stupid it was that she jumped from behind. It could have been Jon, it could have been anyone, and at the end of the day, I would have said, well, wait a minute. What was the Night King doing with Craster's babies? What did he want? Where was he going to go after Winterfell? Who is he? How is he? Why is he? We still have these millions of questions that wouldn't have been answered regardless who killed him. But D&D told us to go to hell, so I guess we're in hell. We have... I'm giving 2 more here because I feel the dragon awakening in me. The more and more I talk about season 8 and, of course, 5, 6, and 7, more and more I talk about the meta of it, the angry and angry I get, and then it starts to suck away the joy I have of A Song of Ice and Fire. Let's just go ahead and just get this over with. Tyrion snitches on Varys. Tyrion said, tell Varys, I want her to know it was me. Tyrion snitched on Varys at the last second. He told on him when Daenerys didn't even know it was him who was causing treason and doing treason. And Tyrion, she says it was Jon who betrayed me. And Tyrion was like, no, it was Varys. I'm like, bro, did you just drop dime on him? Did you just snitch on Varys who saved your life? I'm getting angry and I don't feel well, so let me just bring it back down. The Black Dread is very angry right now, but I just want this to be on record. We're going to do season 8. We're going to forget about this after this video is over. We are never, ever discussing the fuck up of season 5, 6, and 7, especially season 8 again. Tyrion, yeah, he snitches on Varys. We have Dany blowing up King's Landing. I can talk for 10 years and not even explain a little bit about how bad that was. Poorly written. That was a poor choice as showrunners, as producers. And if I was George R. R. Martin, I would be ashamed of that right there. The last thing I'm going to talk about is probably one of the most laughable things that happened in season 8. And that was, I'm going to just leave you with them. I'm going to say it very slowly. Theon Greyjoy, what is dead may never die. Season 1 character went through that whole story arc to die by the Night King taking his spear, breaking it in half and stabbing him through his plate armor with the wooden end of the broken spear. I say again, Theon Greyjoy was murdered by the broken end of the wooden spear going straight through 2 layers of plate armor. Now let's think about that for a moment. This was the writing that we got from Ned Stark being executed, a main character being executed in the first season, something that we've never seen before, to someone getting stabbed with a wooden stick. This is the desecration of Game of Thrones by D&D, and with the help of this person here who's now here trying to do their little co-signing, and he's trying to clean up, pick up the rear with this book here. You tried very hard to destroy the show, and I just want people to understand. That's why I'm very big on A Song of Ice and Fire. Game of Thrones is not canon. It's fun to watch. It's entertaining. And yes, there are a lot of good scenes, and they do take a lot from the book. But trust me, if you want to know how the story is going to play out for real, you want to go ahead and start doing your reading. Trust me, just start doing the reading. Because if you count on season 8, you can hear the anger in my voice right now. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to end this here. Yeah, we've got, the dumbing down of Jon Snow. This is Kit Harington, who led the Northern plot all the way up until season 7. Then he decided he couldn't say anything else except she's my queen. I can't do season 8 anymore. So yes, I have a really, really, really nice one that I was working on here. I'm studying to do this other video here for you guys. It's going to be really, really cool and less stupid, because it's coming straight from the world of Ice and Fire and not that dumpster fire called Game of Thrones season 8. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave you as the Black Dread, Billie Jean the Last Targaryen, with the words of House Targaryen: fire and blood and fuck Dan and Dave.